So I guess let's kick this off. Hey, and welcome yet again to another edition of Helium Hacks Happy Hour. And we have a very special edition this week. We have DataCake joining us. Lucas is going to be talking about the integration on the Helium console. That if you haven't played with it, and I have a feeling that a number of our members here are probably going to jump in and talk about this as well. But I want to thank you very much for being on the program with us this afternoon, this evening, tonight, whatever time it is. Time zones get weird nowadays. But hey, thank you very much. And we've got some folks. I've got to kind of click them through to join us. But welcome to the program. And I guess to start off here, and I know a number of people here use DataCake, myself included, and it's an incredible integration that you have developed with Simon, right? Is he going to be joining us on the call?
Probably. I don't know if he noticed that it's an hour earlier this time, but he wanted to join. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Well, can you, I guess let's kind of kick this off early, because I know because of time zones, I don't want to keep everyone up all night or up all morning or whatnot. But can you kind of introduce yourself and tell us what the hell DataCake is, man?
Yeah, cool. Thanks. First of all, thanks for inviting us over and giving us the opportunity to present DataCake once more. We've been on the show probably a couple of months ago, shortly after we launched the first official integration with Helium. So DataCake is a so-called low-code IoT platform. What does that mean? So Helium, for example, is a network provider. So they enable devices to get online and get data from the physical world into the internet, basically. And in order to make sense of the data, because Helium itself does not really store or visualize or analyze the data, but Helium provides integrations with different platforms. So DataCake is one of those platforms, and we offer functionality to store the data, make it accessible via visual dashboards, allow access to different collaborators to work on the data, to generate periodic reports, to act on the data, to create automations, to send data back to devices, for example, switch relays, etc. That's what a IoT platform is. And we take data from, for example, Helium, but we can also pass data on to different systems, for example, ERP systems. If in a commercial application, you want to, for example, create a monitoring alert based on a device's measurements, then you could do this with DataCake. Everything clear so far, or any clarifications needed on what an IoT platform is?
I mean, effectively, what we're talking about is getting a sensor like this and getting the data from the sensor into something that we can actually make use of, and make a dashboard out of, correct?
Yeah, for example, a dashboard, yeah, or monitoring, alerting, sending text messages, sending emails, but a dashboard is like the most common use case.
So we want to see it in use.
Cool.
Show us the goods. Show us the goods.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, if you can, you should be able to screen share here. And
I think so.
Excellent.
Whoa, I have too many windows open, but let's.
Yeah, we all have those problems.
This is the right one. Otherwise, it could get a bit embarrassing, but no, yeah, this looks right. Cool. So can everyone see my screen or the browser window that has the Helium console open? Great.
It looks good from here. Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. So this should look familiar to you. This is the Helium console, and as you can see, we have added some devices here already. And I think, or I hope everyone knows how to onboard devices onto Helium itself. So here we can see, for example, this is a temperature and humidity sensor from Dragino, a very popular device, very low cost very long battery life. And as you can see, it's currently online. It's sending data. And yeah, if you go to DataCake and sign up for an account, you are presented with a pretty similar view of which is a list of devices. And now you can click the Add Device button. And on first step, you first have to choose the network or the type of device. So what Helium uses is a technology called LoRaWAN. And this is why, yeah, this is the right place to start. So if
and
you
just to
want
be clear, this is a free account, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first two devices are always free. And if you need more, or if you need longer data storage, we have different pricing plans, but I come back to this in a minute. So if you want to onboard a device, we have a list of pre-made templates, which includes scripts to pass the data from the device and convert it to, basically a machine and human readable format, but also pre-made dashboards, which we will see in a minute. So as I said, this is a Dragino LHD65. So let's search for LHD65, and here we can see it. It's right here. Let's click next. Now we choose the network server, which is Helium, of course, and click next. Now we have to add the device's DEF-EY, which is basically the serial number, a unique number that identifies each and every LoRaWAN device. Let's, copy this over. Yeah, and give it a name. Let's say test device. If you have a larger deployment, you can also drag and drop a CSV file containing multiple DEF-EYs. This is a pretty new feature because we have customers who deploy like hundreds of thousands of devices in the field, and it would be a bit tedious to manually input them one by one. But to get started, you can just use the form below. So you could also add multiple devices, but in this case, we just want to add this one device. Click next. And now this is the pricing that Travis was talking about. So if you sign up for a DataCake account, so the sign up itself is free, of course, and the first two devices are also free forever. This includes 7 days data retention, and as I said, a maximum of 2 devices. And this is really good to get started, to see if the device sends data, if it's working, to if you just are interested in like the current data, like the current temperature in this case, then this is totally good to also use in a production environment. But if you need like data storage for up to a year, then you could choose one of the other pricing plans. So this is monthly usage-based pricing. And if you have larger deployments, you can always get in touch with us, and we will make sure to cater a package for your needs. So, but in this case, for this demonstration, let's choose the free plan and click Add One Device. Cool. Now we can see the test device. So you might have noticed that this is not the actual device DEF-EY of the device I was showing you before, because this is already on DataCake. So this is a random number I made up. So this is why there is no data here. But this is the dashboard I was talking about earlier. So we created a dashboard for every device that we support on our platform. And by the way, if you have a LoRa device that is not yet available in the list of templates, you can get in touch with us. And basically we have something like a wish list. It's a list of requested devices, and we'll make sure to add them if needed. Cool. So a dashboard contains several so-called widgets which display data or also charts. And to make this a bit more visually appealing, let's go to the actual device that was onboarded earlier, so that we also have some historic data. Of course, this takes some time, and the LHD65 by default is configured to send data every 20 minutes, I think. So this would take some time for this demonstration. That's why we onboarded it earlier already. And as you can see, this dashboard looks a bit different from this one, not only because it contains data, but also because, the order of widgets is different. And this is because this dashboard is dynamic. And if you enable the edit mode, which is in the top right, you can freely drag and drop the dashboard, add new widgets, configure them, give them name labels, change the time frame, add different widgets, delete widgets, etc. Can also create a mobile view. So this is then for optimized for a smartphone. And yeah, let's leave the edit mode. And
that looks gorgeous, by the way. That looks amazing.
Good. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So this is like the bird's eye view of the device to see the current measurements, to get a sneak peek into historic data. What do I mean by sneak peek? We have something called the history, which allows you to dig deeper into historic data. By the way, this is due to a visual refresh, which will be released in the coming days or weeks. So this will change for the better. So right now things are sometimes loading. So yeah. Here you can choose a time frame and jump in time and select different fields. Here, for example, we have now plotted the temperature and humidity for last week. We could also change to month. So yeah, as you can see, the device has not been online for that long. This is why we only have limited data here. But as you can imagine, as the longer the device keeps running, the more data will be generated. You can also see things like the average or the maximum inside the time frame. Also, we're working with tendency, so you can see if it's going up, down, etc. From this view, you can also export the data, like the current view, to, for example, Excel, to import it into other systems if you have like business intelligence systems, or we are also working with universities that use the data to do some scientific analysis, etc. with it. You can do this from here as well. If you are interested in a periodic export of data, we have something called reports. So if you switch to reports in the sidebar, you can add a report. By the way, reports are free. So everything on the platform that builds on top of devices data right now is like a free add-on. So yeah, this is good to know. So let's give it a name. Let's say test report. We can define a schedule. So this report will be generated every day at 12 a.m. And then you can choose your time zone and you will get a preview of the time the report will be executed. The configuration of the report is pretty complex. You can do a lot of things with this. So first of all, you can define receivers, so email addresses that will receive the report. And then we can filter devices by name, for example, or you can also assign tags to devices, which work similar to the labels on Helium. And then we could select the fields that we want to have included in our report, so temperature, humidity, etc. You name it. You can select the time frame. So in this case, it's 24 hours ago until now, which makes sense because the report is generated every 24 hours. So we're interested in the last time frame, as you can say so. And you can also quantize the data. So you can choose if you want to export the raw data as it came in, or you can also quantize by, for example, 5 minutes. You can choose if the data from the devices should be put into one combined file, or if you want to receive individual files, you can choose the file names, etc. Click save. You can click run now, and yeah, now you can see that because I selected individual files, you can see that free files for the free devices have been created. You can download them, but you will also get them via email every day because this is what we configured here. Cool. let's go back to the device. One more feature I want to show right now is the so-called rules section. So rules allow you to automatically act on data. So let's say test rule, and you can define conditions. So if, for example, the temperature is less than whatever, 10 degrees Celsius, then we want to send an email to a definable receiver with a subject. You can then specify the content, the message of the email, insert placeholders. So placeholder is then, in this case, the temperature. You can include it here. And you can also define other things like how often the rule should re-trigger, how often you want to get the email. There's other actions as well. For example, you can send an SMS text message, which is a paid add-on. So you can like buy prepaid credits, and then you can send SMS messages, text messages to phone numbers worldwide. We can also do technical things like calling a so-called webhook, which is basically another system that lives on the internet. You could use this. We have tutorials or examples on our YouTube channel where we use this to send Telegram messages, like the Telegram Messenger app. You could use this to generate messages in a Slack channel. You could create tickets in a monitoring system, you name it. So this is an internet standard, if you could say so. So if a system lives on the internet and has an API, then it's very likely you can integrate it with DataCake using drules and webhook. But you can also send downlinks. So a downlink, let's step back a bit. So if a device sends data to DataCake by Helium, this is called an uplink because the device sends data up into the air. And you can also send data back to the device, which is called a downlink. So what could a downlink be? In this case, for the LHT65, which is like a dump sensor that measures temperature and humidity and sends it out, you can use downlinks to configure the device. So for example, how often you want the device to send data. As I said earlier, by default, it's sending it every 20 minutes, but I could configure it to send it up to every 5 minutes. Or if you're only interested in data once per day, you could set it to 24 hours. But with other devices, you can also do more interesting things like setting outputs. So for example, switching a light on or opening a valve, or you name it. So you can also do this automatically. So for example, if the temperature is less than 10 degrees Celsius, then we could, for example, turn on a power outlet that turns on a heater, for example. So how do you configure downlinks? Let's go back to the device. So downlinks are also included in most of our templates, but you can also create your own downlinks, which will open this view. So here you can write a bit of JavaScript code. And this is one of the reasons why DataCake is called a low-code platform. So low-code because you don't have to write code, but you can write limited code to do custom things, for example, in this case, creating payload messages that will get sent to the device. As I said, you can configure or send downlink to the LHT65 to change the reporting interval. And if you are familiar with this specific device, then you will know that the downlink that the device expects starts with a byte of the value of 1, and then the number of seconds that the reporting interval should be. So in this case, it's 0001 which converts to 600. 600 seconds is 5 minutes. you could click the send downlink button, and this would send the message to the device. You can also create dynamic downlinks. So how does this one differ? This one has a section called fields used, and we have chosen a field from the device, a configuration field. So this allows the user to input a custom number of seconds that will then be converted to the actual payload. So how does this look to the user? If you click the button, you will be asked to enter, basically the number of seconds. And if you would then press the save measurement and send downlink button, this would then be calculated to the actual payload that would be sent to the device. And this allows to make a pretty technical, complex device manageable by non-technical users.
And so, Lucas, I don't have to worry about this for the most part. I mean, if there's a template available for a device, or if I provide a template, I don't have to deal with any of this, right?
Of course, no. So if you create a LHT65, then these downlinks will be automatically generated for you. But if you are a technical user and you want to extend your devices, or maybe you're also creating your own hardware devices, of course you can do this on the LoRa network. Then you can very freely create your own payloads for your custom devices as well. But
just to explain the LHT devices, this is a Dragino temperature, like humidity temperature sensor is what we're talking about here. Yeah.
So it's
there we go. Perfect.
This one.
Excellent.
This one right here. Yeah. So this is a device made by the manufacturer Dragino. You can buy it, and all these devices have the same downlinks and also the same payload structure, and this is why we can provide a template for this. But if you were to create your own hardware, I'm pretty sure there are people in the Helium community that do so, create their own PCBs, write their own firmware for their devices. Then you could also create templates for your own devices. And if you get in touch with us and you want to sell your device publicly, then we can also, of course, create a public device for public template for other users. If they click the add device button, you would be then listed as a manufacturer, and users could create devices from your products, basically. But as Travis said, for most end users, you don't really have to worry about all the code things, because this is provided with the templates.
And I can use other people's templates. If someone else has something uploaded, then and it's a popular device, I can use that, and it will be selectable, from the drop down or whatnot, right?
Yeah, right now you would we manage the list of templates, but we are currently working on something like a community marketplace where the community can create templates on their own and make them available to everyone. And cool. This is something we're actively working on right now.
That's cool, man.
Cool. But usually, manufacturers get in touch with us, or they create their own templates, and we will simply list them in our list. One thing I haven't covered yet, because this is also pretty new, is, as you can see here, so the LHT65 is, as we said multiple times, is a temperature and humidity sensor, which does not have a GPS chip on board. So if it sends data, we don't really know where the device is located. But when Helium forwards the data to us, they attach metadata, and this metadata also contains a list of gateways that saw this actual data coming from the device. And we can then use this data, and Helium knows where the hotspots are located, and they have geo coordinates attached to them. We can then extract this data and display it on the map. So while this is not probably not the location where the device is located, this is the location of the hotspot that received the data from the device. So we know for sure that this device has to be somewhere in like the range of the actual hotspot. And while the reach or coverage may vary, this will always be like probably always be the hotspot that's closest to the device. So we can use this to get a rough estimate of where the device is without the device having to have an actual GPS chip on board.
I got a question for you, man.
Yeah,
sure. Because America has this whole thing about Fahrenheit. Can you kind of walk us through that? If I want to.
Oh, sure.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Yeah, great. Thanks for your question. So probably for many of you, these numbers don't really make sense because it's in Celsius, and this is because we are from Germany, a part of the world where we have a very
logical.
Very, yes,
yes.
For the word, very logical system where 0 means it's freezing and 100 means it's boiling, and everything in between scales linear. Sorry for the quick rant, but some of you might want to convert this number to a number that people in your area understand. And you can, of course, you can do this. If you go to the device's configuration and scroll down a bit, you will see a list of fields. So a field is like a variable of the device that receives data and stores it in a time series database. So for example, we are storing the battery voltage but also the temperature. And as you can see, the temperature is defined, and currently the current value is 21 degrees Celsius. If we now want to convert it to another unit, you don't have to ask the manufacturer of the device if they can configure the device to send it in Fahrenheit, for example. We can do the calculation on DataCake without touching the device. You can do this by creating a so-called mapping field. So in the context menu, you click Add Mapping Field and give it a name, temperature Fahrenheit, and so unit degrees Fahrenheit. So we have different mapping types available. One is a linear scale, which we'll use here. Another one is a factor. So for example, if you wanted to multiply the value by 2, you could do this here. And the third one is a lookup table, which does not really make sense for like a numeric linear value. But if you would have a device that sends out a state or maybe an error code, you could then use a lookup table to convert this, for example, to a human readable string here. But in this case, we want to use a linear scale, and linear scale works by providing two sample data points. So you could say that 0 degrees Celsius is, let's Google real quick, that's 32 Fahrenheit. And the second one, let's say 100. Oops. 100 in Fahrenheit. This is 212. So now we can see that we have created a linear scale, and we can now click Add Field, and you can see that it's like a dependent field on this one, and this will update when new data comes in. We can see that the last data came in a minute ago, so we would have to wait 20 minutes or 19 minutes, but we can use a shortcut. We can manually set a value. So for example, let's test it by setting the value to 0 degrees Celsius. We can see it's, yeah, perfect, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's set it to 100 Celsius, 212. let's set it to something in between, maybe 50. 122 looks right to me, I hope. Yeah, but you can use this to convert all kinds of units, not
anything. I mean, this isn't just. I mean, I know this is an easy demo, just talking about temperature, but we can use this functionality for anything here.
Yeah, yeah, and anything that can be converted. So this can be used to like convert linear scales. Sometimes you want to convert a more complex one, like for example, we have one customer who produces large gas tanks, which are fitted with a pressure sensor. And in order to get like the actual filling level of the tank from the pressure, which is not a linear scale, but it's like a, what's it called? Not a linear scale. So this is a pretty complex formula. You could do this here as well by adding a new field that's let's call it example, and you could check use formula. So let's do a very easy example. So this is something that you would also write, for example, in Excel, and you can use other measurements here. For example, if you wanted to multiply the temperature times 2, then you could do so. So with the current temperature being set to 50, this would equal to 100. But if you wanted to square it, for example, temperature, you could do this as well. So 2.5K. You can use this to create, yeah, anything that you could write in Excel, you could write it here also.
Can you show an error when you try that?
Yeah,
something that will fail.
Yeah, for example, if you were to use a variable of a field that does not exist, then would say unsupported variable. Or for example, if you were to, let's say, divide by 0, float division by 0. So yeah, anything that is not possible. Sorry?
Apologies for that. Can you reference data in other parts of the other fields and other sensors?
You mean like from a different device?
So if I have to recalculate the formula there, but the variables are coming from the real-time data of other sensors, can I reference those sensors directly? If the change make is dependent upon a value that I now have to go read from somewhere else.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So not in this place. You can, like, this is a bit more technical, but you actually you could write some like custom code that would interact with our API and fetch the data from the other devices. But because this, yeah, like there's no easy solution for this, because like devices change, etc. This would require some more work, but there are definitely ways. You could also,
Lucas, you brought up the API. Can we talk about that and how that's implemented and how I can talk to that?
Yeah, of course. So we have two APIs. One is a traditional REST API, and the other one is a let's call it more modern GraphQL API. So GraphQL is a pretty new technology that allows to write custom queries to fetch custom data. And the GraphQL API that we provide publicly is also the same API that is used by our very own front end. So everything that you see here, like all the configuration, you can also do this programmatically via the API. And if you go to docs.datacake.de, this is like our documentation, and scroll down a bit to GraphQL API. You will see a short introduction here, and this also contains a link to the GraphQL Explorer. So you can provide an API token here, which is covered in the docs as well. And here you can write queries, evaluate them. You will also have documentation here. So for example, you could search for all devices. So this would be a query where you can query devices from a workspace. So we will see that this will return a device. And if you click it, you will see all the fields that are on the device. For example, the current measurements. You could query for field names, and this will you can basically click through and use the search to search for the data that you want to access. You can, we know that this probably has a pretty steep learning curve because there's so much possible with this. So you're always welcome to use our chat or support email to get in touch with us if you need help implementing your use case, and we are very happy to help. For some use cases,
and I've got to say, these guys are completely helpful and responsive. If you have a use case that you need to get implemented. So
thanks. We try to hang out as much as possible in the Helium Discord as well, on the DataCake channel. Yeah, if you want, you can always write an email as well. So as I said, for some use cases, the REST API might be sufficient. So data. Okay.
GraphQL API.
Travis, will there be a place for us to place links related to the show later?
Yes, if you put links in here, I'll copy everything over to the Hacks Happy Hour channel over on the Discord, and
perfect.
I'll also put them on YouTube.
Cool. Yeah, I will compile a list of the links that we saw in this.
Cool.
episode. Cool. So this is the documentation for our REST API. So the REST API is a bit limited in functionality because this is built upon like requests from our customers. And so if you wanted to do something that's not possible with the GraphQL API, or that's too complex for your use case and you want a simpler REST API, you can also get in touch with us and we'll talk about if we can like add it to the REST API. But right now the REST API allows you to get a list of devices, create devices as well, and the most common use case for the REST API is if you want to like record measurements, like set values on devices via the API, then this is a pretty simple way compared to the GraphQL API, because many systems only speak like pretty standard JSON, and this API supports JSON, so you can set one measurement at a time, or provide provide a list of measurements, also set timestamps. So this is, you could compare it with what Helium does. So Helium forwards the device's data to us. We extract the payload and set the data, but you can also create virtual API devices that are not connected to a physical device, and then use the API to ingest data, basically. You can also use the REST API to fetch historic data, like a time frame of data, which we saw earlier with the Excel export. You can also use the REST API to get a list of measurements. But once again,
so Lucas, what is MQTT? I saw this. I saw this on your screenshot, and I also saw something called Node-RED, and you got to talk about it, man.
Yeah, sure.
But before you go there, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
sure.
How does the output of this API hook into the dashboard? I mean, does it have to go through the virtual device that you're talking? Or is it separate from the dashboard entirely?
It's separate from the dashboard. So our front end internally uses our own API to generate the dashboard.
Okay.
But you could also use our API to create and code your own dashboards that fetch the data from DataCake and display it in a way that you'd like to. But it
would be my own dashboard entirely.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So internally, this dashboard, as I said, uses our API to fetch all the data that is displayed here, and yeah, creates the visual dashboard from it.
Okay, thanks.
But you could also use the API to update dashboards. For example, if you were to add many devices and wanted to create widgets not by hand but programmatically, you could also use our API to alter and change the dashboard as well.
Hey man, there's a question that just came up saying, can you embed a dashboard that you make in DataCake outside of it, like in WordPress? If I want to embed some code within WordPress for part of this dashboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So if you go into the edit mode of the dashboard, you will see a button called public link, and you can click it and create a public link. You could also optionally password protect it. We'll show you in a minute. And you can then click Save Public Link, and this will give you a link and also a QR code that you can download and print, for example, on your devices. And this link allows you to get like shortcut to the dashboard, which does not require a DataCake account. So you could then, for example, in your WordPress, create an iframe, which basically embeds another HTML page, and paste this link. And this would then embed this dashboard onto your WordPress.
That question came through from Ivan, by the way.
So as I said, this is a public dashboard, and you don't need authentication to access it if you have the link. And in some cases, you would want to password protect it. So for example, let's say password and save it. And if I now were to refresh, you would then have to enter the password to unlock the dashboard. And then once again, you would see all the data. This is a read-only dashboard. Dashboards can also contain buttons, for example, to send downlinks, or you could display a slider which would configure the device. And for this, you could set the mode to read and write. But in most cases, like people create read-only dashboards that they want to display in, for example, public places on a big screen, and you don't want to have to type in your DataCake password. So you can use this to create a link and open this in a browser, or also embed it in an iframe on a WordPress site, for example. Cool. Hope this answered the question, Ivan.
Cool. Yeah, I believe that did answer the question that I asked there. If anyone else, do you mind taking a quick break just to do kind of a QA, because there a lot of questions have kind of been piling up.
Sure.
I think everyone's kind of been loving what you're talking about here, but I want to make sure that everything is discussed here. So,
yeah, sure. Sorry, I did not have the chat open. Charles, do you want to moderate, or should I read questions from the chat?
Either way you want to do this, but I'd honestly kind of just prefer people to open up their microphones and address you directly if you don't mind that, man.
Can I ask a question about? So tomorrow morning I'm going to Bowen Island, and I have to talk to a few people, and I'm trying to convince them of a project. Now, what I'm trying to do out in Bowen Island is I'm putting a few hotspots out there, but I'm putting thousands of sensors that detect humidity, heat, rainfall, water, and all of this kind of thing. Now, what I'm trying to do is to convince the businesses out there of the viability of this data over the long term, in terms of tourism, in terms of BC parks, knowing about the health of the ecosystem and all sorts. So I'm looking for a way, and I haven't built it, to visualize this data to people who are non-technical, who can get it there and then and go, okay, I can see how this can benefit my farm. I can see that, okay, Bowen gets an average rainfall of this, but you can actually tell me how much of that rainfall falls upon my land. Or there's a guy out there I'm doing a deal with on the bikes who rents electric bikes, and he wants to track these bikes. He wants to know about the batteries, and he wants to also know where the tourists are going, so that he can coordinate with local stores. So I'm trying to get this whole integrated thing going. And what's immediately standing out to me on your map right now is this might actually be a great presentation tool for a load of maybe a couple of hundred test devices. And I haven't deep dived enough in it yet, but do you think this would be a good use case for what you're showing me here?
Yeah, most definitely. So the map is actually something we're also very actively working on right now. Right now, you can display one or multiple locations on a map from different devices. You can also configure the map to display like historic location data. So set a time frame, and then you will have like a line on the map where the devices went. So for example, the electric scooters, you could skip through time. But what we're working on right now is that you can then also enrich the data displayed on the map. So for example, also display the current battery status on the map of the actual scooter, or like make it red if the battery is dead, for example, or if the device did not report back for a certain amount of time. So this is something we're currently working on right now, because we have a lot of like feedback and requests from the community for this as well. And this sounds like a perfect use case for what you were describing. Also,
yeah, sorry, go.
Sorry. Also, things like you said with the average rainfall, as you can see in this example dashboard, you can also see trends. So, for example, the percentage change, but also we have one for today's average, today's maximum. You can, if I go in here in the configuration time frame, we can choose from different operations. So in this case, we have the average. You could also like display the change. And then we have a freeform input, like from today, which is like the start of the day, or let's say yesterday until now. You can input fixed dates as well. And yeah, so I think for what you described, you can like build dashboards on DataCake to display the data that you would need.
I have one more final question. I'm out on site a lot, but when I get home, I'm the only developer and I'm coding, and I hate doing UI development. At the moment, I'm trying to do UI development, and what I immediately noticed here is in temperature, humidity, helium hotspot, for example. I'm wondering if I can create the dashboards in your product and then embed them in my app and cache the data, because they're portrait, they fit the app. It looks, so I'm talking about an export of subsections. I almost see it as a remote development environment for my application for the app on Android or iOS. If I can export those dashboards as the UI essentially embedded in an iframe within each app on each tab. Is that something that's okay to be done? What about throughput or hitting your company with a lot of requests? How
like the current way to do this would be the embedding an iframe with like we saw earlier with the dashboard, and we'll make sure that this scales like with caching, etc. We'll take care of this. What's currently not possible is that you, for example, export a single widget from the dashboard, but you can create multiple dashboards. Like what we're seeing here is a so-called device dashboard. So this displays data from one device, but you can also create global dashboards that live in your workspace that display data from multiple devices, and you can create as many dashboards as you like. So for example, you could also create a dashboard that only contains one widget and then create a public link for this dashboard. So you would then have like an embeddable view of only this widget. This would work as well.
And it looks solid on a mobile platform. Yeah, all the mobile platforms I've tested on. I mean, it looks great, man. So
thanks.
Can I leverage off of Ivan's example there a little bit?
Yeah. Hit it, man.
So he has hundreds of sensors out there and maybe hundreds of customers. What is the workflow for him to ingest all of that data into DataCake? For instance, maybe each customer has 10 sensors, but he's got 100 customers, and theoretically he's going to need 100 dashboards. Is the API and CSV
DataCake
files?
is awesome about that. DataCake I mean, I'll let you handle this, man, Lucas. But you guys are pretty. You excel at that, right?
Thanks. Yeah, we're trying to. So first, when creating the devices, so first of all, we have customers that are doing exactly this. They have thousands of devices grouped into individual customers. So first of all, when you click Add Device, and you can, as I said earlier, like a device's configuration lives in a so-called product. So when you create a device from a template, this will create a product. Like the product holds the device's configuration, and you can create or add as many devices as you'd like to this shared configuration. And if you then do a change on the product's dashboard, this change will apply to all devices. So you can, when adding a device, you can have basically three options. One is the new product from template, which is what we saw earlier. The other one is existing product. So we added a Dragino LHD65 before, so we can now choose the existing product and add more devices to this existing configuration. And the third option would be a new product, which would be like an empty product if you were to create your own hardware and wanted to start from scratch. But if you choose existing product, click next, you can add as many devices at once at the same time as you'd like. So if you have a batch of 100 devices, you can, if you have the dev UIs available in Excel, you can export it to a CSV file, drag and drop it there, and then import the devices onto DataCake.
What if I want to import? What if I want to have a farm though, and I want to have like 12 different types of devices, right? And can I do a template for a farm or for like a setup like that?
Not right now, because like all the different devices would be pretty individual, I think. So if you were to have like 12 different kinds of devices, you would have to do like the step like 12 times, but not for each and in every individual device of each type, but only once per type. If that makes sense.
I mean, if I wanted to have a dashboard that had you know, multiple device types on that one dashboard.
Yeah.
And I wanted to reuse that template. I'm you know, I'm just poking you, man, because I know that every time I poke you, you know, the feature works next week. So
yeah, sure. So we are pretty like, let's call it feedback driven development.
Yes.
So
yes.
our roadmap is very dynamic. We are a very young team, and so our resources are a bit limited. So like our roadmap really aligns on feedback and the requests that we get from our customers. So if there's something that you would need that's not possible right now, we'll also post this link later in the chat. So we have feedback.datacake.co, where you can add feature requests and you can vote on them. And this is also where you have a change log. And by the way, this is also the place where you could like request device templates if they are not yet available.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is already pretty well used by the community, and this basically really defines our public roadmap as well. So,
and we'll put all these links, you know, in the chat here. So
yeah, I'll do in a minute. So
okay. So Ivan's the master here, right? And he has, let's say, 10 communities. And within those 10 communities, he's got 50 customers. Do you have any sort of hierarchical dashboard to where Ivan can take a look at, here are my 10 communities, can I drill down in there to my 50 individual customers?
Yeah. So
and can you talk about the pricing and the way that DataCake does the pricing there too, because it's kind of unique here.
Yeah. So first of all, let's first answer the pricing question, because it's I hope it's pretty quickly answered. So our pricing, as I said, scales with the number of devices and the devices plan, which is defined by how long you want to store the data. Basically, if you like, the most popular plan for devices on DataCake is the Lite plan, which stores data for 1 month. And this is used if you're only interested, for example, many of our customers are only interested in like the current readings, like current temperature, for example, or historic data, like how it changed from yesterday till today. And very few people are really interested in like the last year, but we also have plans for this. And basically, if you have anything above 100 devices, please get in touch with us, and we'll make sure to build a package that's suitable for your use case. But the pricing is like the self-service pricing. We have these so 2 free devices, and then you can add devices starting from €1 per month per device. And this is for the Lite plan.
But what if I am a company? What if I am a company and I want to kind of sublet, or I want to, have, other implementations underneath me?
What do you mean by implementations? Like was asked earlier, like the hierarchy of access of dashboards?
So I can give an example based on what I'm doing. And I'm looking at your pricing page here at the moment and the data retention and stuff. So the first thing straight away to me is data retention. I need large data, time series data going back a long time. So under your current plan to save money, I would keep that data myself. You have a month's worth of data retention. I can rely on that backup, and then I store that data myself and I retain it offsite. So that might be, don't know, it depends on your price and structure later, right? Looking at the $1 per device, which is fine because our devices are not individual temperature, humidity. They're one device with many sensors on it, right? So that device is basically a hub that takes, sensor data from 20 sensors, packages it into a payload, and then sends it on. So how I deal with that data on the other end and enumerate, to 20 devices is up to me, right? You're just bringing in the data. On the dashboard, I don't know how I would deal with that yet, but from my own perspective, if I was to use this, if I set up a website, on that website, a customer, let's say a municipality or a building owner or a property owner or a farm owner come on, and they come on my website and they see I have a bunch of packages. And on that package, it says, I send you, let's say, a data hotspot to fill out a blind spot on your farm or whatever. And I send you this thing, and if you're a farm, it has a kit for your farm, a template for your farm. If you're a property owner, it has a template for your house with X amount, and it has these templates.
Like
So
white labeling, right? Like,
yeah, so usually customer buy it, but when you sign into my site, you have a dashboard. Now on that dashboard, I need to give you the telemetry, which I'm hoping to pull from you guys and visualize it.
Mm-hmm.
But as was pointed out, if a new customer comes on board, I need in the back end as the administrator to go, look, here are my business packages. Now I want this duplicated per person that buys this package for me so that they get the same visualization that I've set up, but it's for them. And I have some way as the master and commander to aggregate all these clusters of my customers so that I too can monitor it and do customer support and stuff like this. Now it's
but this is what white labeling is set up, Lucas. I mean, that's kind of how you have things set up, right?
Yeah, right. So white labeling is like if you want to run like a copy of DataCake on your own domain with your own logo, and like your customers not seeing that DataCake is in the background, and this is what we call white labeling. But the other part of your question is like more a structural organizational one, and like how our existing customers do this is, like I said, when you sign up for DataCake, what I mentioned in the beginning was that we will create your first so-called workspace. So workspace is an organizational unit that holds a list of devices, but also members, so users with access. So you can create multiple workspaces. So let's give a concrete example. So one of our customers, who is deploying air quality sensors to their customers and doing this in batches as well, like tens and hundreds of sensors per customer, they sign up for DataCake and create all the devices in their workspace. And then they go ahead and create a new workspace named after their customer. And then let's do this real quick. So if you then go into one device and into the configuration, there's an option called device can be claimed into other workspace, and you can create a claim code, which is basically a pin code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you will need the serial number. So let's go ahead and create a new workspace called Hex Happy Hour. So now I switch to this workspace. This does not have any devices yet. We could now add like LoRa devices as we saw before, but we also can use the pin code option, enter the serial number and the pin code. So one use case would be that you would send this information to your customer, and then they can like create their own account and so-called claim this device into their workspace. We'll see in a minute what this means. So we can then click add device to workspace. And now this device, like a reference to this device, lives in this new Hex Happy Hour, like the customer's workspace. You can, like, this would not incur any further cost because like the cost is managed where the device was first created, which is in your own workspace. So you could then, like, when you have added all the devices that the customer should see, you can then go ahead and go to the member section, which is something that we have not covered yet, and click add member. Here you can invite people via email and also set their permissions for this workspace that you invite them to. So for example, you could invite them with only read-only permissions, so they can't change any of the configuration, or you can invite them with all the all permissions, and then they could change all the things. Also, you can add permissions individually by individual devices, or say permissions for all devices in this workspace. When you click save, this person will get an email message with a link, and they click it and sign up, and then they will be part of this workspace and see all the devices that are in this workspace. So this is one way to manage a hierarchy of devices, and this is how many of our customers tackle a situation that sounds pretty similar to what you were describing.
A lot of what I was wondering as well was just how much work I could save myself as well. So some of it was a wish list, right? I know I have to do some of the work myself, and I'm sure your customers have in order to build that stuff. But it's a pretty impressive system, and I really like this.
Yeah.
Thanks. Also, one quick thing is when you create a dashboard containing multiple devices, let's quickly, you can also add, of course, static widgets like a headline. You can then copy this dashboard and paste it into another workspace as well. So this is a way to copy dashboards between workspaces and also between devices.
And you can copy to mobile as well here.
So we have different views for desktop and mobile. By default, like if you were to scale down the desktop dashboard, it does not always make sense in a shrink way. So we have the option to you could create like a totally different dashboard from the desktop one for mobile, but you can also click create from desktop, which will override the mobile dashboard with like a copy of the desktop dashboard. But you could also again change it here. I know there's a typo, but anyways, so if you then switch between the dashboards, you see that this is a different dashboard, and this sometimes makes sense. And don't know if this would break the screen sharing if I were now to resize the browser window, so I won't try it. But then the dashboard would change to the mobile one as well.
Those functions be done programmatically? I presume so. If not, we could request them so that I could automate some tasks like that and didn't actually have to click through on the UI.
Yeah, totally. This is what I said earlier with the GraphQL API. So everything that you're
Yeah.
seeing that I was doing on the web front end, as I said, the web front end is using the exact same API that we expose to our customers as well. So the thing with GraphQL is that you could say it's like self-documenting, as we saw earlier in the Explorer, you can click through. But if you have a specific use case, please get in touch with us and we'll help you with the GraphQL queries.
Let's go back to Ivan's multiple sensors per device issue. I posted a note to Discord earlier today.
Mhm.
So I've got one LoRaWAN device. I want to feed multiple types of sensors through that device. And then I know I'll have to decode at the data cake side. How do we handle displaying the data in different widgets?
Sure. Let's do this real quick. So in this case, we'll now create an empty product called multiple sensors, for example, and choose Helium. Let's use a random dev UI here. Multiple sensors. So free device. Well, so now you're presented with an empty dashboard, and if you go to the configuration, you will see that it does not have any fields. So now you would go ahead and create, like, if you were to have a device with multiple temperature sensors, let's create the fields real quick. So 1, 2, 3. Is this what you're referring to? That one device has multiple, for example, temperature sensors attached to it?
Could have multiple temperature sensors as well as multiple humidity sensors, as well as multiple leak sensors, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera.
So let's go.
Multiple of the same type.
Yeah, let's go ahead with this example then, and maybe create humidity 1. Oops. 2 and 3. So in the payload decoder, you can then now reference these fields like you would if the device would only have one sensor. And so let's now set random values here. So we have data to work with.
Right. So I guess the point is here, we have to create a separate data item for each sensor, each device and sensor combination. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I cannot have it does not use like a,
Well, for me, that's okay. I mean, I'm looking at that and I'm going, well, I have to define the device that I built that I'm sending to my customer. And once that's done, it's fixed, even if it's modular and parts go into it. And once that is done and I've set up the payload and stuff, then it's just a matter of programmatically repeating that. I could reuse it over and over. But it would have to be done at least once, yeah. It's what I see you saying. And then if you don't deal with the programmatic side, but you'd have to repeat that work over and over, at least right now.
Yeah.
But with these sensors, like right here on these sensors, I mean, once these are defined, if I am correct here, Lucas, I can throw all of these onto the same dashboard, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So now I've created a chart widget containing all the temperatures.
Yeah.
You could also create
that could represent house.
a chart that only holds like one temperature from like one sensor. And yeah, so since you can freely configure these widgets, you can basically do whatever you want. One quick note here is that I don't really think that you can like add unlimited sensors to the same device because of like protocol restrictions. So you can't like send arbitrary data via LoRaWAN. It only makes sense up to a certain point there because there's like technical.
But it's not just LoRaWAN, right? It's not just LoRaWAN. I mean, if I want to have a Wi-Fi, based weather station, for example, I can pull that into the same dashboard, correct?
Yeah, correct. So
what about 5G later? Because it's not just slow data either. Because it'll be fast data. Like
We're all about slow and fast data, man. Come on.
Yeah, so what we did here was creating LoRaWAN devices that use the Helium network server. One thing I haven't shown yet is that you can also create API devices. So API test, let's quickly dive in here, API. Free device. So Travis was asking earlier what MQTT is. If you go into the configuration here, if you create an API device, you can add HTTP endpoints that you can write custom code that decodes a request that you send to it and use it to transform it to data. You can also do the same with MQTT. So MQTT is basically a real-time technology, something like WebSockets that is used by, for example, some NB IoT providers have MQTT servers that are used to forward the data.
And it's encrypted. It's encrypted. I mean, it's a secure technology. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a secure technology. It's like a real-time channel. So here you would be able to like connect to your custom MQTT broker and then create something called uplink decoder. So you can subscribe to MQTT topics and then write code that like converts this data that comes in via MQTT and writes measurements. You can also do this the other way around, like with the LoRa downlinks. You can also create MQTT downlinks that take measurements or configuration from the device and craft MQTT messages from it. So this works pretty much like LoRaWAN, only that this is very custom. So the cool thing about the whole LoRa space is that the devices are like standardized, and we can create all these ready-to-use templates for you, so you don't have to do any of the work. But if you want to do, or if you have to do because your use case requires it, you can always do it.
So what about Node-RED, man? Or Cake-RED, I guess.
Yeah, so don't know if all of you are familiar with Node-RED. Node-RED is so let's go here. It's an open source tool. I think it's driven by IBM. So which is like, it's also a low-code programming environment. And it's like a visual thing where you can do like more complex use cases, also integrate with other systems. For example, I'm using it at home to integrate with my home Philips Hue lights and then integrate them with DataCake devices. You can do crazy things like this if you want to. And Cake-RED is our managed Node-RED offering. So you can install Node-RED. Many people have like Raspberry Pi at home, and if they are technically skilled, they can always install Node-RED themselves or put it on a server on the internet. But this also requires you to, like, if you have it on the internet, you would have to secure it, do things like set up firewall, do things like authentication, etc. And this is pretty technical. So what we have is managed Node-RED, which can be enabled at the billing. So this workspace does not have a payment information set, so I can't do it here right now. So we have 14 days free trial, so you can give it a try without a risk. Let's see.
If you're not familiar with Node-RED, it allows you to, I mean, basically put any plugin you want into it. I mean, if you want to do AWS integration, if you want to do pretty much any type of integration you want, it's a very simple manner of doing that, I guess, Lucas.
Simple is relative, but yeah, I think in the last
okay, good. Yeah, okay, good point.
I think in the last demonstration we used it to store data coming in via Helium and via a LoRaWAN device and write it into a Google Sheet, I think. But let me quickly find where. Wasn't really prepared for this, but yeah, I think, yeah. here we have a Cake-Red
Nice.
instance. So as you see, there's a link in the sidebar, and this will open Node-RED. So we also use this to monitor DataCake itself. So if you go to datacake-status.com, you will see, for example, the MQTT round trip time, which is the time it takes from a MQTT measurement to be written to come in and be returned out from DataCake again. And we do this with, whoops, where is it? With Node-RED. This is not really pretty here, but so basically we subscribe to a MQTT topic and then do things with transform, like
Can you talk
transform
about the
data.
function here? Yeah, the functions. Yeah.
So this is basically like a payload decoder. So this acts on data and outputs data again. So what we're doing here is calculating a time difference and returning the value in seconds, and then yeah, using other function nodes to send it to the actual status page here. So you can do things like this with Node-RED. So we have the DataCake device input and output nodes. So
and that auto populates right here,
this auto populates. So
which is
yeah,
cool
this
as hell. Yeah.
has a list of all your devices, and yeah. But as Travis said, there's so much you can do. Like, this is the standard nodes that come with Node-RED. So you can do things like delay, do custom code, interact with MQTT, HTTP, WebSockets, parse CSV, parse HTML, store files somewhere. So you could use Node-RED, for example, to query historic data and put it in an S3 bucket, like was mentioned earlier, like for long-term data storage. You could do this with Node-RED. You can also
yeah, there we go. Yeah. I mean, it's
install-
amazing for prototyping. It's amazing for prototyping IoT devices.
Yeah, it really is. It helps you get started really quickly. The one thing I would be a bit cautious is that I don't really think that it would scale to thousands
No.
of devices.
No.
So if you are at this stage, then it makes sense to convert what you've built in Node-RED to like real code and run it somewhere else that's a bit more stable.
But I can afternoon something. I can afternoon something
Yeah,
in
totally.
Node-RED. I mean, and it's amazing. You know,
Yeah.
using Cake-Red, you know, with your hosted services, it's so easy to do. And I can
Yeah.
use that with AWS. I can use that with pretty much anything I want to extend to. It makes it so easy, man.
Do you
Yeah, and-
support the GUI? Do you support the GUI parts of Node-RED as well?
Yeah. it's
Yes,
hosted,
we do.
yeah.
We do. Don't know if this is on this dashboard, but
That's
Simon has a
okay.
lot of examples. I will post a link later. He has made some videos and articles on this where he created dashboards on there as well. So yeah.
But Leroy, what you can do, you can go up to the deploy up here, and you can actually install like other, you know, other plugins for
And my
Node-RED.
own.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've played
Yes,
with Node-RED
yes.
in the past. yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Looking
it's
at
pretty cool.
gateways here under DataCake, I can see that I can add a gateway for monitoring, and it supports the Things network. Now, in my situation, the Helium hotspots are the gateways. I'm wondering, is it possible to just add a thing there where we can monitor hotspot? Now, I know we can monitor it in other ways, but that's not really the point. For me, the hotspot is where the data gets out, so that's the gateway. But I see.
Oh, I
Right.
can't. We don't talk about the Things network here, but no,
we can talk
but-
about it real quick, because the current gateway monitoring is only works with the Things network version 2, which is deprecated and will be switched off this month,
Yeah.
I think. So
Yeah,
and
yeah.
gateway monitoring is actually something that a lot of people have requested as well, which was very interesting to us, because as you said, there's other solutions as well. So what we have on our roadmap is, like, we have all this data. If your Helium device sends data to us, it includes metadata about the attached gateway, and we can store this information and make use of it for gateway monitoring. And this is something that's coming in the future. It's not possible right now, but this is definitely on our roadmap to also support monitoring and have insights for Helium gateways there.
Like what BFG
Just
Neil
curiosity.
is doing right now with helium monitoring, on Gateway is pretty badass. And I would definitely look at that with his project.
Yeah. I think Simon also has used Node-RED in the past to interact with the Helium API to display information about his very own hotspots on a data cake dashboard. So this is another place where Node-RED comes in handy, because it allows you to transform data from one API to another one without having to set up a custom server, write like deployment scripts, etc. You can do this like drag and droppy kind of thing.
And a lot of the new gateways that are coming out right now, have status pages or APIs even, that are pushed out that you can hit to get data from.
Yeah.
One more question on data cake widgets. Can we, if we're so inclined and are able to, can we modify them?
Like, what do you mean by modify?
Customize them? I have
like
a temperature widget. It shows my temperature. Well, I want to throw something on that widget for an alarm. I know I can have a separate widget, but
this is also on our roadmap, if I understood it correctly, that we have like a library of, like right now, if you click add widget, we have this pre-made list of widgets. But we had requests in the past to have like custom widgets, for example, a tank fill level widget, which will like have a visual representation of a gas tank.
right.
So this is not included right now.
But these here, can I edit one of these myself?
Like, you can edit it by, as I showed earlier, by saying like, if I'm interested in the current time or like an average. Also edit the gauge, choose different colors. But if you wanted to like fully customize it, that's not possible right now, but it will be possible in the future to also have like a template library or widget library of community widgets where people can contribute their custom widgets. But right now you are limited to what we offer, and you have customization to a certain degree. So you can choose the icon, choose colors here.
Right. But I cannot go add my own options, my own stuff in here.
Not right now. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
But Lucas, you understand you're talking to Leroy here, and so you should talk offline here.
No, I don't need that right now. It was useful at some point, but
in my mind, the widgets are more components. The group of widgets are actually the widget, and the dashboard is a group of widgets.
The dashboard, yeah.
That's kind of how I'm looking at it. So I seen Boolean, I seen the rules. I can see how I can work in my own little UI elements to give status indicators for customizations and stuff. It would just end up in being a longer widget. But you're right, you have to combine what's there. But we have the rule system, right? We can write our own code in here in the payload. We can do some cool stuff. I think it just takes time to get familiar with the platform, and then the magic will start to come out.
Man, and I gotta say straight up, the cats. I mean, everyone behind this. This is an incredible platform, and it's amazing that there's so few people who have been actually working on this project. And hats off to what you folks have been doing on this.
Thanks.
It's really phenomenal, Lucas. And please, send my props over to Simon as well. But this is one of the
design, can't you? I mean, you're looking at an endpoint where everything is programmatic, and they built the UI on top of it. So it's like, you're building your own tools as you're going, and you're building. It's cool. Just from the perspective, I don't know how many's on your team, Lucas.
So like a core team is just Simon and me. We've been working with contractors and freelancers in the past, and
it's phenomenal.
But we're currently growing, so we're in the process of hiring more staff. But most of the things you're seeing right now is like product of Simon and my work.
Looks good. Thank you.
Thanks.
But it's phenomenal, man.
Thank you.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
I'm going to
Um,
start using it for a start. I didn't know it was there before, so we'll give it a shot, see where it goes. Rather than take up community time on this, I'm going to hook up with you on Discord and just start going from there.
Cool. So if I'm not responsive on Discord, there's like this chat widget on DataCake that you can use to get in touch with us, or I will also post my email in the chat. So yeah, please feel free to get in touch.
and they're incredibly responsive over there. So yeah.
We try to. So sometimes there's a lot of like requests on the support, and it's sometimes a bit hard to catch up. So sorry in advance if it might take some time, but usually we try to be as responsive as possible.
Are there any questions from the community here that anyone has for for Lucas while he's on the call here? Don't everyone speak up at once, but
I was trying not to take bandwidth. I could deep dive into this for ages because I have a few things going on, and the less, as a developer, the less I have to build, the better. But as somebody who's constantly broke, the less I have to pay out to more solutions. So that's why I asked about the gateway monitoring, for example. Yes, there's other tools, but yes, you have to pay for them. And at the moment, I am playing the game of, okay, I have X amount of money invested, and I'm out there talking to people in the field, but I'm also a developer. When I'm out there, I can't be here, so nobody's doing the work. My directors are non-technical. They just put in the money. Now they're going, we need a return. We need a return. We need a return.
yeah.
So I'm out there, and so take tomorrow, for example. Tomorrow I got to go out to Bowen. I have a number of things to do. I have to canvas for hotspots because there's no deployment out there, but I've already promised a load of businesses that there will be. I've done some site tests with the mappers and stuff. There's because of Vancouver and Gibson, which I can get signal, I can get data, but it's not reliable yet. And I've said from the start, I always needed reliable data. Now it will stake out there. And I'm looking at this tool, I'm going, right, with all the shit that I have going on in my life, how much does this save me in terms of money and time? Not just how much money I spend every month, but time. And I can see here that there's a fuckload of rules in here that I could, sorry for cursing, that I can use and experiment with this weekend. And I think this is a really useful tool. So I could do
and with the white labeling, bud, with the white labeling, I mean, like, really with the flexibility, can you click on this on the white labeling if you don't mind, real quick?
Yeah, sure. Let's switch to a workspace which has actually white label enabled.
So I'm in white label here.
So white label allows you to run like what you're seeing. Like right now it's on app.datacake.de, but it allows you to run it on your own domain. So we have this. Yes. So now you see this has the custom logo that you can set here. You can upload a fav icon as well. Set a name, link to your own terms of service if you have them. Like disable user sign up if you want to exclusively like actively invite users to your platform. All the emails like notifications, user sign up, forgot password, etc. will be sent from your own domain. You can limit the kinds of device types that users can add on your white label site. You can choose the capabilities if MQTT is enabled, if gateway monitoring is enabled, if billing is enabled. And also we proxy the API, so GraphQL and REST API onto your own domain and also give you your own MQTT server.
So just with that function alone, I can set up a website in my own domain for the project that I'm doing. I can take your product, build my dashboards for the test devices we have out there, where I'm trying to traditionally build presentations to stand in front of a room of directors. I need to prove it to them. And the best way is after I walk away after the 5-minute pitch is they can load up their app and play with it and deep dive and talk amongst themselves. So what I'm thinking now is this weekend, I get the white label solution, I wrap around, I add my sensors to it, I play with it, learn the platform, build a few templates, build a few dashboards, and use this in my presentations. Use the email functionality to invite in these business people that I'm meeting, these people, and just say, look, when you have time, come back. But there it is. This is it. This is not the finished product, but it shows the potential. And it shows this is what we have in the field now. Because what I have right now is an Excel spreadsheet that I bring to each meeting with me, which the data is coming into, and it's just not impressive, right?
Well, fuck yeah, and you can do that too, man. I mean, seriously, But
So
this makes it pretty,
the next thing that I'm looking at is, okay, that's the workspace. So in the workspaces, I have different situations set up. I don't know which one is going to work. So for example, I have some building people with some smart devices in there. I have a few thermostats and things like this. The idea for that is the smart building. There is a farm, because we're farmers from home, we have a lot of land, and we've been deploying sensors with the local farmers in Ireland on collars around cows' neck on cattle. We're trying to track the rainfall and stuff like this, because there's a hemp industry growing in Ireland, not weed, but hemp and other products that need to know more about really what's going on this month, this year versus last year versus the year before, not the general charts we had from the 80s or 90s, So from my perspective, having the workspaces, I'm going to set up different workspaces to do with my different endeavors every week. So now that's your product is taking care of that for me. Straight away then in each workspace, I'll build out the basic dashboards. Right after that, I'll begin customizing because I don't know what I need yet, right? I have to play with it and see how this is going to look, how I'm going to present it. I might have to do changes to my devices and how I do code and how I get the data in to make best use of it. So there's going to be a few weeks worth of work there. But straight up, you already showed me I can add some of those sensors and play with them. So the rules I'll deal with later. That's more complex, but I already have ideas for that. The members, I can add my team immediately. The directors who are non-technical will now get it. They'll see what I'm talking about. So now they can begin to go out and talk to other people and take some of the work off of me.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm talking about. Take some of the work.
Train
off.
the trainers. That's hard,
Train the
man.
trainers. And now
Yeah.
off. Now, gateways was just a fuzzy thing. Me being me, skip that for a minute. We look at reports. I can automate the reports and I can send that to the buys. So that's beautiful. Right after that now, I haven't deep dived into the rest of it, but that's my immediate perception of your product. And that's how I think I can, I'm glad I came on today. I'm super glad I came on today because I have this tomorrow. So I'm not going to have it done tomorrow, but I didn't have a solution. So this is a good place to start.
What I think is awesome is what you're doing with the templates, is the community templates where people can share community templates. I think that's huge, man.
It has to be open data. My company believes
yeah.
that it all has to be open and visualized, so that like if you're moving into an area, they already tell you how many schools are in the area. They tell you this, that, and the other. But I think the future of AR, VR, all these things depend on the telemetry from the world outside getting it in, so that
Hey Ivan, I don't know if you have your chat open, but I've been hitting you up, and I needed to talk to you, man.
Oh, sorry, buddy. Oh, shit,
yeah.
I just seen it. Yeah, okay. Listen, that's where I'm going to shut up now because Travis knows me. I'll talk for hours.
No. I'm not trying to quiet you, man. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying, please hit me up, because I think what you're doing over there really falls in line with another project or several other projects that are going on here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not I was saying that you're trying to shut me up. It's that part of my stuff is listening to other people and they say, I wish we had this. And then I'm gone. And 2 weeks later, I have a little bit of that you asked for. And we're trying to find these business adoptions for it. So a lot of stuff's moving quick. So that's
Let's do it. Let's do it. Everything moves quick. Let's make this happen, man. I mean,
I'm up for game for fucking anything. But this is about Data Cake here. This is their happy hour.
Oh yeah. My bad. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So thanks for the kind words. So we're very glad you like what you saw, and I think it makes totally sense for your use case. And if you need help or guidance or have any questions, so always feel free to get in touch, please. we know that it sometimes can be a bit complex with like the workspaces, and people have questions like, how do I structure my devices? Where do I create the devices initially, like for billing purposes? How do I then assign them to my customers? So that's what we are there for in the support.
And one thing, Lucas, I'd like to say is that you make it where I can white label if I have like 50 farms, for example, right? I can white label these. I can make it look like you know, my white labeling, and data cake doesn't even come up there, right?
Yeah,
Except-
that's what white label is about. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and you make it so that all of the back end stuff there is very reasonably priced. Can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. Like go back to the pricing once more.
Well, I'm sorry, but you guys are very, very cheaply priced. I mean, as far as if I have 50 farms, you know, I don't pay you. Your pricing model is very, very reasonable, and I wanted to really kind of bring that to the forefront here.
Cool. Yeah, it's very good to hear. Thanks a lot. Yeah, we try to like make the pricing accessible to everyone. Like if you're starting out and only doing a proof of concept, you should not have to pay like hundreds of dollars each month.
Yeah.
You like the pricing scales with your use case. If you have a lot of devices, like make like have a lot of benefit from the data, then the pricing increases. But if you're only starting out, then this should not be a burden.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that to the forefront and just say that, you know, DataCake has been, you know, absolutely great as far as, you know, what I've seen on the pricing model. And, you know, I've been using you know, your services for quite some time now. So.
About the pricing there, it was X amount per device. And just a general curious question to everybody. A lot of the thing, like, you know, when I go out there and I buy devices like a GPS kit or something like this, just one device in the eyes of most consumers who are not developers. They're buying a device, they want to get in on Helium, they want to track their beehive or something. It's one device. And then they have 10 beehives. And in each beehive, they want to put a temperature sensor, they want to put some other sensor and another. Now that's 3 sensors per beehive. So you're starting to stack up. Whereas some people don't realize you can combine one sensor into multiple devices and that device sends out, and that's just how you put them together. So I was wondering how the pricing structure was kind of working out with other people, because it does seem cheap. It's $1 a device is what I see here. And you also kind of do yourself out of money a little bit, because as I said, if I want to avoid the price increase, I can host the data myself. But then you could say the cost is on me to host it, but whatever. It seems very simple. You don't really have an enterprise pricing solution that I see.
Well,
not publicly available, but always open for discussions.
And maybe, I mean, I'm not talking, you know, speculation or anything, but, you know, sometimes the Helium network and HNT can be used to help supplement, you know, the cost of DataCake hosting and whatnot. So.
Yeah, that's a thing that we're doing at the moment as well, which is we were trying to use HNT as the currency. And it's been weird, but we're paying our bills entirely at the moment through HNT. We shifted completely from fiat. It's a very nervous time for us, but we're totally reliant on HNT right now. So our online services, everything.
I can't talk about this really much, but yeah, no, it's I think it's very powerful, and I think it's very powerful for especially like projects and.
Well, when I first approached people and I talked about crypto, HNT, they thought Bitcoin, they went away. And I was talking to business people and old people, 40s, 50s, 60 years, old money. And
I'm in Texas, man. I'm in Texas. I get it. Yeah.
So what for me eventually was to deal with fiat currency and to give them something in their own language. So my online services, you know, you'll pay your US dollar or your Canadian dollar. So I can see why DataCake would still stick to traditional pricing, because it's more accessible. For me, I don't want to have to get verified with Binance and all this just so I can get Helium, so I can buy my credit, so I can do this. And self-actualize as a business. I just want to subscribe to a product in my local currency and get
Yeah.
it done, and then let
Well-
DataCake or me under the hood deal with all the complexity of it.
What if DataCake worked with you under the hood and said that, hey, if you're working with a farm, then they can supplement sensors out to this farm, right?
I'm always for supplements, but if this works at the minute, I'm thinking DataCake will be working with us anyway, because I can see this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm in a bad position to argue.
So a sneak peek, we're currently thinking about or working on abstracting away like the actual Helium integration with the data credits, so that you have a one-stop shop to onboard your devices, and we take care about the Helium layer
With
in
QR
the background
codes.
transparently. So you don't have to go to Helium to buy data credits for your devices, but you can do this on DataCake, which will make it a lot more accessible to like the traditional non-technical world as well.
We're preloading the credits ourselves, and we manage it that way. We don't allow our customers any integration with Helium. And that
So they're managed. They're managed on the Helium console. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
But that's it. Like, where do I go off of the Helium console? And looking at this was my immediate.
You go to the moon,
Helium
man.
console?
You go to the moon. Yeah.
We're still trying to get Laura there.
Me too, man. But we're getting there. Let's talk, man. I mean, that's something with like CubeSats.
DataCake from CubeSats, man.
Let's fucking go. Yeah.
Like, Lucas, where do you think yourself this is going to go in a year or two from now?
It's really hard to say, because like you've all witnessed how Helium, like the growth has exploded, and like some people probably saw it coming, but most of us did not. And also, if we take a look at the stats of DataCake, like the amount of Helium devices is really impressive, how they grew in such a short amount of time. Like when DataCake started, we had a focus on like the industrial sector in Germany, which was very traditional with like Siemens devices, etc. Everything very slow. And then start of 2020, like LoRaWAN really took off in Germany, not with Helium yet, but before 2020 or 2019, like LoRaWAN, hardly anyone in Germany knew about it. Like our neighboring countries, like Netherlands, they are a bit ahead of Germany, but we are from Germany, and so it was very slow here. And if you take a look at the Helium Explorer now for Germany, even in like the rural areas where I personally live, it's like the coverage is so impressive, and it feels like it happened overnight. So it's really hard to make predictions how it's going in the future. But
that's minors. That's minors.
Yeah. But also with like the newly announced roaming partners, I think it's only a matter of time until you have like global coverage everywhere. So I hope that it's like continuing to take off and go like literally to the moon. Maybe would be great to see when we have the first miner on the moon, but or on Mars or wherever. So I think it's only a matter of time.
So how do we get how do we get the use cases on the network? That's a question I got to pose to you.
Yeah, so from our perspective, like our customers that really scale, they have like a problem, like they have to monitor the air quality in like public buildings, and they don't necessarily care about if it's powered by Helium or Things Network or whatever, or if it's crypto or whatever. They just want the data arrives, and they don't want to like manage their own infrastructure, etc. So I think the Helium network is great in that it combines like the community spirit of everyone contributing to the network, but also incentivizing it. So
we built up quick, man. We built up quick, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
so there's like really an incentive to keep the infrastructure up, and I think it's, yeah, this is a pretty rock solid network, aside from like technical scaling issues as we saw in the past
Okay.
weeks. But
Oh,
I think the concept
All right. Yeah.
is so unique if you compare it to other community
Yeah.
things. I mean, they exist as well, but they don't you can't really compare them to what Helium has achieved.
let's take I see two types here, and this is what I'm meeting. When I'm on Facebook and Instagram, the level of misinformation and scammery and fuckery that I meet is off the charts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shit. Second, I step on Discord. Woo, change.
Yeah.
Complete change. Everybody knows what they're doing. And when I seen Helium explode, what I seen was an explosion in dense area of greed from Bitcoin gurus and everybody that thought they could make this money by having 20
Yeah.
hotspots into one building. Helium responded, new proof of coverage, all of this and the problems. Now it's starting to move out. Remember, I started at 80 hotspots. I know you guys were in it much earlier, but I started when it was 80,000. And now it's 280,000.
I started at 3,000, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So
now, what I noticed was in the community on Facebook, it's one thing, but the people I've been talking to is it was a mess at first, complete mess. Hotspotty got their shit together, and people started to communicate.
Yeah.
Now we have groups of people who are going, yeah, we need to move out here, and we're lifting our miners up and we're moving them.
Yeah.
And we're letting them, and that's how we're fixing it. And now slowly. Because last year I said, if this is going to work for my business, I need to track a truck from Vancouver to Toronto without losing signal. We just did it 3 weeks ago, even with the large gaps. Now we
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
But
nice.
And it's not there. We didn't repeat it on the way back, but it will be there soon. So now with data cake and stuff like this, think about it. Low volume. Out there in the environment, we have static sensors, that's time series stuff that we care about over time.
Yeah.
I'm using AI to make determinations off of, which is why I need the vast data. But on the other side, we have 5G coming. Now, this is what the Google cars and stuff need. Fast. It's not built for us. It's built for IoT. You know, I don't care if you have a phone with 5G. You might as well have a phone with 4G for all I care. It's the latency, it's the speed.
Mm-hmm.
The data cake would have to react that quickly too for the data that we want to ingest inside of this. Now, not me personally. I'm on slow moving data, but I see.
So what do you backhauling on, man? Where do you backhaul your data?
At the moment, I have a multiple message. So I have 3 servers in CodeLogix downtown, and I try and get all the data directly to there, and then it's over layer 2. But most of the time, I'm using LTE at the minute out in the remote locations because most of my stuff is off grid. But then downtown and urban, it's a mix.
I get you. Yeah, right on.
We're having a lot of problems with that, mostly due to not being able to afford the right solutions yet. We had a plan when we first came in to double down and triple down and quad down and just keep investing. So we didn't let the money out to buy this other stuff. So what I did was I took everything from my company, every antenna I had, every directional antenna, every Ethernet cable, anything we could do, and we hobnobbed and built in different batches. So I'll be releasing that stuff soon. It was part of our marketing plan to chart this progress, but as I said,
if you saw my house, you would laugh your ass off, man. Yeah, absolutely, man.
We just got a basement. We upgraded from my bedroom to our basement.
Oh goddamn! I want a basement so badly, but actually, I want a cave, and my wife has a real estate license, and so she's been looking at caves for me. So.
So right now, our next plan is I made a realization, and that realization was the amount of money I was spending in Canada in such a big country. I could bring home to Ireland. So watch Ireland in January and February, because you look at Ireland now, the lights are going to switch on with the amount of money I put in there. I can't wait to go home and light up Ireland.
Well, the way to
And-
light it up is with streetlights, man. With LoRaWAN enabled streetlights, man. But yeah.
But all that
Anyway,
chat
yeah.
and HNT aside, my company is dependent on other companies' business adoption. So DataCake, looking at this again, just trying to keep it focused. I'm
Oh
definitely-
yeah, sorry.
I'm
I get way off base. My bad. I'm sorry about
curious
that.
what other people here. Are you guys running? Is anyone running any businesses? Who has an actual use case right now? I have 3 or 4 use cases. I'm going to be using it by this weekend. I'm wondering who else is going to hit this up and what you're going to do with it. How long have you been demoing on this? Is this a new launch? Because it's not. I'm just not been around, I think.
I know a lot of folks who have dropped off the call at this point who
Take a look here,
use DataCake. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know for sure that we have a lot of customers who have actual use cases that also scale like crazy. So like this one customer that's doing this air quality monitoring for like the state. So they're working with the health officials from the state, and they are deploying so many sensors, like they couldn't get their hands on enough sensors, so they had to switch manufacturers as well. So yeah, we know for sure that the use cases are there. And if I look in my neighborhood, they have like public parking space monitoring, which is also LoRaWAN based. Like the whole smart city thing is at least in Germany is really taking off right now, especially since COVID. I think people now have time to think about how to improve the infrastructure, which was not really the case before. Then we've been working with a company from the US who's doing like wildfire monitoring. So they have sensors in the forest which detect smoke and heat to predict and detect wildfires, which is also a very interesting, very important topic, I think, especially in California. And yeah, then we have like the industrial customers whose use cases don't really like scale that much, who have like big industrial machines that they want to monitor to get alerting on like maintenance conditions, etc., which is a very stable business that does not like scale that exponentially, but that's there, and it's really good as well.
But it's I mean, it's already in the field, you know. I mean, like all that money is already out there. And so people don't want to, you know, redo all their, you know, everything they've invested in the field. If I could do a bolt-on, you know, DataCake, you know, addition using, you know, some type of LoRaWAN Helium device, then I mean, it's a huge up there.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, we really like the LoRaWAN system because like there are so many different parties involved, like sensor manufacturers, network providers, IoT platforms. And while like there are like official standards, but it's all a pretty or very new technology, but all these different parties so work seamlessly together, which is really great to see. And everyone is like extending on the functionality of the other ones. So, and yeah, we really like the community and the spirit, and yeah, especially in the Helium community, like with this I can only repeat myself with this crazy growth. We've never seen this anywhere else before.
So how crazy would it be for you, you know, as a company, DataCake, to talk about pushing down custom firmwares to a device?
Like we have so many requests for this, so it's very interesting. So we've done over-the-air firmware updates over traditional cellular technology, but as far as we know with LoRaWAN, there's like these proof of concepts, but I'm not aware that anyone is really doing this in production and like publicly talking about it.
Well, not publicly, but
Okay. I'm sorry. We
Um,
probably, yeah, okay.
so one of the problems we have, Lucas, is the devices that we put out there, we don't want to go out and do all these site visits, and we have to be able to reprogram them. So we made a little stub of an operating system that basically boot games into another one. And we've been playing, it's a kind of EVM, essentially. It reads from, so if I post a transaction on Helium in our app that says spawn a Docker server or something, the Pi on the other end gets it and it reads it. But the point is, we have to do these remote updates over the airs, and we've been learning how to do that, and we're writing small changes onto the blockchain to do that. So, so the device, the operating system, is constantly reading from the miner, constantly reading the chain, and as this small 8 and 8 bytes and 8 bytes begin to appear, when it completes, it reboots and rewrites itself. But we have about a 60-70% failure rate at the minute. Actually, it's higher.
Oh man.
It's higher. So if you could find a solution and you had a data cake, something that I could deploy that could do these over-the-air updates, but I don't know if it's totally necessary.
And I was just talking in devices. I wasn't talking miners here.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking miners either. I'm talking.
Okay.
Like if I have a Fitbit and I'm running through Stanley Park and there's a new firmware update going, I don't want the internet or Bluetooth or Wi-Fi to deliver that. I want it to go down through the downlink or to be broadcast in some way, not required.
Well, what's badass and what I love, man, and you know about Hardshare.io, right?
No.
Hardshare.io, man. Yeah, can you pull this up on the screen share right here? Please, thanks. What this allows you to basically get a remote node, right? And so I can program with guaranteed Helium access. And you have like a browser-based via Visual Studio Code using Platformio interface. Oh, it's cool as hell, man. Oh, I forgot I named it kerosene initially, but yeah, but this allows you to I mean, you literally just click on demo at the top, and I mean, you can get one of these boards and you have a video feed and you have, I mean, click here to access demo.
It opens the GitHub.
Oh, wow. My bad. I don't know.
Okay, that's another thing that could maybe help me.
But what this allows you to do is, if I'm in a country that doesn't support, or a region that doesn't support Helium, I can use this, man.
Hang on.
Hardware as a service. Yeah.
That's interesting. Sorry, I'm just reading the website. It's not fun for people to look at me, really.
No.
This is a really great slogan, by the way. Don't let a global pandemic stop your firmware development. COVID.
It made everyone crazy. You know, I mean.
Thankfully, it is exactly what brought me to Helium. I had a while off. My friend said, you know what, Ivan, you know, you're out of work for a bit because all these businesses that you depend on are going under. And I'm like, yeah, hey, want to make a business together? There's this Helium thing. And I was like, looking at it going, oh, I remember that from a few years ago. They had like, you know, no hotspots. And then it's like 80,000. I'm going, okay, this is serious. This is catching up. This actually solves a lot of my dreams from the 80s. I was talked about that earlier. And since then, but this is the thing, you're right, the whole thing is changing so quickly that with me being offline for about a month, off in these remote locations, I come back and after learning 2 products that I didn't know before again. I don't know how long they've been out there. Every time I come back, hotspotting has big differences. Every time I come back, I'm sure next month I'll come back, Data Cake will have all the features implemented that people ask for. I can't keep up. It's hard to keep up.
It's hard to keep up. Yeah, very true, man.
Do you all think that if COVID did not happen, that we would be where we are right now with like the amount of hotspots on the Helium network, etc.? Or do you think it's also kind of caused by the pandemic?
That's interesting because I didn't know the Helium community prior to COVID. And I know that after COVID, I got much better with remote interactions and decentralization of work. So I was wondering, so that's good. I would say the Helium community got better at working together and they got their shit together. But
also like the general growth of IoT and LoRaWAN deployments.
Oh, yes, for sure, because the world needed a kick, right? It needed a kick and we got a kick. And then Amazon and Microsoft and gaming all took off. Even me, I'm a gamer and I make games. That's what is my main thing. Took off. And then the bubble burst. And we're like, okay, we're stuck in the cloud world now. And we don't actually all want to work from home 24/7. It's a bad idea for businesses to sell their offices and send us home. So,
well, the problem is people start working 24/7, you know? I mean,
we're in the advent of smart roads, AR, VR, all these stuff are coming together now. It's the first time in human history we can get this level of data from the earth. If you look at my website, it's completely changed. All I say on it now is we're blah, blah, blah. We want to connect the world. That's it. Whatever comes from connecting the world, we're going to benefit from. So that's the way I look at it. Let's just keep going. AR is going to happen. VR is going to happen. The likes of Fortnite and these games that we play out there in the real world is going to become part of this world.
I know. I got a Quest 2 that I've done a lot of development on virtual reality and with Unity. But that's one thing that we're doing and connecting with Open and with a lot of this. You know, with this AR where you could just aim your phone at I mean, all these Samsung phones have this, you know, just, you know, out of the box, man, you know?
Straight up, like, I imagine, like, when I'm in VR and I'm playing with Unity and I'm making my scene and I'm running around and I'm placing my props, you know, I would really like, you know, like if I put in a weather sim, it's easy to get a feed and adjust the daylight weather and add some rain, you know? What if somebody walked in the room while I'm in VR and they're a troll? What if the cat comes in and it becomes a dragon? You know, it's like, I want the world to speak to the game and tell me what's happening around me so that I can represent it within this universe. And that's Ready Player One, isn't it? That's,
what's wild with those Quest 2s, if you slap the front of the goggles, it turns into night vision mode, right?
Yeah. And at the minute, I'm playing with the visual. So Hotspotty beat me to the punch. They made a beautiful product, much better than I ever could.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit jealous and I went into Unity and said, what am I going to do next? I'm going to take OpenMap and I'm going to 3D visualize it with a Quest.
Well, that's what they're working on, man. Yeah. That's I mean,
They're too good for me. They're too good for me.
Well, talk to him, man. Seriously.
I'm too unreliable at the minute. I'm out. Until I have these hotspots deployed, I'm just. There's 40 of them left there at the minute, and I'm very picky with the hosts. And it's Nebra causing me. I won't go into Nebra, but we solved that. And it's only now I'm beginning properly. And the projects have all taken a back seat. That's why these intermediate products are so important, is who else has done something now that I needed that wasn't there. Here's data, here's this. And I go, okay, I want to work with them, I want to do this. You can't do it on your own, right?
Yeah. It's very empowering. You know, I mean, you know, with these third-party companies like DataCake and, you know, what they allow just, you know, an individual to do.
It's been interesting. I've made predictions along the way. Some have worked out correct, some have not. Some I didn't even think to dream to predict, and it's happening in front of my eyes. I didn't think helium would take off as it did. And I don't mean in terms of everybody scrambling from HNT, but I don't have to tell people about helium anymore. Do you understand? They're oh, I know about that. Oh, I've heard about that. That's where it starts. 6 months ago, it was, have you heard of helium? No. Okay, it's a bit, you know Bitcoin? And they're like, yeah, but I'm not into that. And I'm like, okay, it's not like Bitcoin, but at least you know what crypto is. Let me explain. And then and the usual thing I do is, let's look at helium's ad on YouTube. And then I'll start.
I got a story for you. I probably shouldn't tell this publicly, but yeah, I got a crypto story for you. But yeah, no, I think it's amazing what helium has been able to do, and I think a lot of it does have to kind of rely on the pandemic. I mean, I think that there are a lot of people who have been working from home, a lot of programmers, a lot of developers who, all of a sudden, you know, they were working from home and on the net all day, every day, you know, and they found helium. I don't know.
True story. I was invested deep. Remember when the pandemic happened and all the miners got held up and nothing the manufacturers could do, right? Everybody was bitching, but I was going under, which is where my anger came from. Parley Labs, company I had never met, never talked to, sent me hotspots out of their own goodwill, like, just to save me. And they did, and that kept my company afloat until the pandemic was over. My own hotspots came. And I'm
the
like,
pandemic's over?
Well, in terms of, I don't give a fuck anymore. I have my mask,
Yeah.
I'm vaccinated, I'm tired of the flat earthers and the whole rest of the conspiracy. I'm back to work, okay? I'm back to work. You know, the only thing that's going to give me COVID up a mountain is the bears. And I'm looking, they're more likely to kill me than COVID where I am, trust me. Oh, story for you. I put up a hotspot last week. The homeowner came back to me and she says, Ivan, you're not going to believe this. And I went back and I looked at it, and a bear had went through the fence where I put it up and tore the hotspot down.
Oh, gee. All right.
Bear protection. We need bear protection sensors for our hotspots.
Right a hip. Yeah.
Where are you deploying? You're in the UK. And Lucas, have you deployed hotspots?
Yes, in Germany, a few. Also here, it's very hard to get your hand on one, but yeah, Simon has some deployed, I think, and I'm currently working on getting a RUG wireless gateway up and running on the Helium network as well. So yeah, but this is definitely the plan from the future to deploy more hotspots as they become more available.
Yeah, you said earlier that the people that were on the DataCake platform didn't care how it got done, like they didn't care whether it was fiat or crypto. That's a problem I have, is where they do care. So that's an interesting difference. You said that these people who are scaling well don't seem to care because they have a problem to solve, right?
Yeah, they just need connectivity basically, and so they don't care if it's LoRaWAN, if it's cellular. They care about cost and coverage and reliability.
They just pay through your platform the currency. They never deal with helium. Is that right? Like,
yeah, that's right. But at the moment, we're doing it like manually and managing their devices, etc. But the plan for the future is to automate this process even further, so that you can like buy the data for your devices right on DataCake, and we handle it transparently in the background.
So
and hopefully not have to deal with SIM cards, you know. I mean, it's kind of a pain point. Yeah.
Also, funny story, when we started our DataCake, like I said, LoRaWAN was not a thing in Germany, so we deployed cellular devices which were on the 3G network. And starting a couple of months ago, like the communication providers in Germany started disabling and tearing down their 3G towers. So we have so many devices out in the field who lost all of their connectivity. And like the hardware is useless basically. So you would have.
So
to
how do we
replace the
solve
whole
that?
display.
How do we solve that? How do we convert that over to Helium? How do we get those 3G devices over to Helium?
It's like a very individual problem. So with a lot of
Yeah.
devices, there's like ready-made LoRaWAN sensors available that replace the old devices. But many of those old legacy cellular devices are like big industrial machines, etc., with their own PLC controllers, and they require
Yeah.
like custom work.
Custom firmware that you can push down from DataCake,
Custom
right?
firmware and also custom hardware as well.
Or general
I'm
hardware.
still getting my head around this custom hardware thing. It's cool.
No, or general hardware, you know? I mean,
Yeah, like we started out like few people know, but DataCake once produced their own hardware,
know,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
cellular PLC controller.
Yeah.
And we thought about making a LoRaWAN version, but then again we thought about how long it took for us to like get the custom hardware, the product to market. And there's so many
Hardware is hard, man.
manufacturers
Yeah.
like Dragino has their own like industrial controllers, and there are so
Dragino's
many
badass. I'm a huge fan of Dragino.
yeah, it's really great. Like pricing is also very impressive, if you could say so.
The LSN50 V2 is one of the best products on the market in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, they have so many
knowledge.
great devices. So it doesn't really make sense for us to develop our own hardware right now,
Yeah.
also because we don't want to deal with all of this. And there's great alternatives from manufacturers like Dragino, but still it's sometimes pretty hard to find like the perfect solution as a replacement for a customer, also because there are sometimes in such remote locations that you would have to deploy a gateway or hotspot there just for them, maybe just for their one machine. So
yeah,
and then again, this hotspot needs like cellular uplink, and it can get complicated.
oh yeah,
What
I get that.
see happening in 5 years. Right now, Helium hotspots are dependent on the service provider still, right? 5G is coming. We're still dependent on the service providers, even though we're going to have 5G in there. But let's go past that. What is the internet when we have dense 5G? We don't need the service providers anymore. We can make an ad hoc internet. So these devices in the future can't be knocked offline. They'll be there around a long time longer, as long as there's demand for them. They just won't be as profitable as the big companies give a damn. The big companies are disappearing. Think about all the telecommunications companies in the world right now. They were a monopoly at the top with a pyramid, and that pyramid has become diluted over 20, 30, 40, 50 years to the point that it's so saturated that now the average user is deploying a 5G cellular mast in their bedroom, you know? In a few years past that, the internet is nothing more than a wirely connected system that gets a packet from one side of the world to the other using TCP, the fiber optics, all of that. If the devices
Encrypted.
Yeah, and we know it works because when I was in the old hacking days, when the Syria conflict was on, we programmed the Nokia phones to bounce text messages between each other and some other stuff with a couple of cells. It was fuckery. But take that.
Yeah.
Up here, in a couple of years, this is going to happen, because if they don't do it, I'm going to do it, because I don't want to pay an internet bill. I'm happy with my 100 megabit download. I don't need a gigabit download. I'm not torrenting that much. I'm not, you know, the point is, I suppose, that the internet, the nature of the internet will change, and real-time telemetry being sent to a server in the US when I'm in Europe is just not going to cut it when we need the 5G latency speeds. We need these things clustered close. So eventually the data centers will get saturated too. And we see that with IPMS and the decentralization of that stuff. The Ethereum EVM is nothing more than a decentralized computer.
But you know what's in your damn pocket right now, man?
Helium is the first to push this. Helium, this is what I mean. When I sat in the 80s, when I got into computers, I dreamed of things that weren't possible. Now, thanks to my friend getting me back in on Helium, I'm looking going, holy shit, I have 40 years worth of development experience behind me. I can code in all these fucking languages. What the hell am I? Shit, I can build this stuff.
And what's in your pocket? What's in your pocket? What's your phone, man? I mean, seriously, it's,
What's in my
It-
phone
it-
right now, and I had to do it just because I'm that guy. I had to get a bendable screen. I'm playing.
I've seen those. Nice. Okay.
So
That's
my
funny.
idea for Helium as a side project, I've ordered a couple of e-ink displays like the Kindle. And you know when
Okay.
books are supposed to be open source and just small data? I'm wondering if a Kindle can send out, you have a text document on your Kindle, like a PDF, and that becomes torrented on the blockchain. Or sorry, it becomes part of the blockchain. It's mined. You mine a book, and every other Kindle in the world can download that book for free. I'll probably get sued, but e-ink is cool. Because you know the way you have a Kindle and it's one screen, it sucks. But if you have a book, it's cool because it has pages. So you put 5 or 6 or 10 e-ink displays bendable in there, you got your book. And run it over Helium. Why do I need the internet for this? I just need small data going to it. It'd be
Yeah.
great if it could be used
Yeah.
anywhere, in an airport, in the Sahara Desert.
And you can just queue, or you could queue, on the edge for that. So you don't have to have constant connection there.
You don't need
Yeah.
constant connection for most things. Like social
And what-
networks will go away and it'll be different. I'm talking 5 years from now, right?
Yeah. Five,
Yeah,
5 years.
yeah.
I mean, things happen fast, man. And even just like with these kits, man, like using these kits, like the Rec Wireless, right? Using the WizBlocks, they have BLE and LoRaWAN on them, right? And so you can connect to a mobile phone, and that really opens up a lot of doors, right?
We had a stock full of pies when we began, and we started using them, and they had the same functionalities. We're now run out of stock of them, so our next ones will be the racks, or will be the don't talk to me about it like that. We're turning into
Yeah, I do a
thing.
lot of stupid stuff over here, but but yeah, I mean, this is a touch screen that uses a feather form factor, right? This is 3D printed, and then it's LoRaWAN and allows you to use BLE, and this is a like a BlackBerry Bold keyboard on the thing, right? Which allows you to text over MQTT over the Helium network.
I'm going to share out my screen with what I'm doing tomorrow. You're the sensor guy now that I have you.
Yeah, cool, man.
Right, okay. Hey, can you see my browser?
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
you, man.
Okay, so I'm going to go over here to Bowen Island. Bowen Island has nothing staked here at the moment. Vancouver is overstaked. I've
Yeah.
just made an entry to Gibson. Now, what I'm doing on Bowen is here in Snug Cove, there's a guy and he rents bicycles. And those bicycles travel up that road because up here on Mount Gradner and here it's a high point, it's a valley.
Yeah.
Now, part of the other thing that I'm doing out here is in Bowen Island Ecological Reserve and Killarney Viewpoint. So this entire island I want censored out. So basically cross-divided into 10 square kilometers and 5 square kilometer boxes. And on each of those locations, I want temperature, humidity, all of that, one box with a range of sensors. And I want to transmit that through Helium to a dashboard through data guys here. Sorry, my mind is mush. And I want to
Through Data Cake, yeah. Through Data Cake,
sorry.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is the things. Now, I have to buy all new sensors. I have no stock for this, but I'm doing it in the next couple of weeks. And I need
Okay.
as many out here as possible. I'm thinking about 1,000 or so. So maybe 5 to 10 sensors per box. Every box is essentially deployed off grid in a strategic right across the island so that I can get a full visual data feed of everything about that island. So right now I'm going for the easy KPIs. So I want temperature, humidity, rain, moisture, CO2 levels, water level, a couple of things like this. And I'm looking to combine all of them into one box and reduce the payload. So I'm trying to figure it out at the minute. I was wondering if you had suggestions based on what you know about your own kits and your own hardware. what would you buy if you were taking on something that scale? And all through Helium, of course. I'll be putting 3 hotspots out there on the mountains to make sure I get the signal out.
Yeah, let's definitely chat about that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, I'd love to do that. But that's what I'm doing. So this is what my company's taken on, guys, and this is why data is so important. And now, from when I won't make money on this except HNT, which you get feck all with the hotspots there. So where I make money is when I talk to this guy and I explain to him and I go, look, these bikes and these tourists that are coming through here, I can tell you where they are, how long they spend there. I can tell you when they go into this little lodge here, and I can offer them rewards. There's a huge community of fitness professionals that come over here, and the scuba diving place over here. So there's guys in Richmond that work on a watch. Now here's a problem with
I got you.
underwater. I need to get a signal out from LoRa underwater from a scuba diver, and the water is a big barrier. We lose signal very quickly with it. So we want to see if we could track emergency situations from divers, because they have a watch already that does this, and they can communicate with other divers. They sell this, but we were trying to see if for the people who are training the other people to scuba dive, that could we have a monitoring station for them so they can see where everybody is, see their CO2 tank level, see what depth they're at, what their body temperature is at, look for indicators from their body that they're in a stressful situation and react to it.
But you have to do very low frequency for that if you're underwater. So
yeah, so that turned out to be a failure, but I was using it as an example. You're right. We had to the use case, but we switched that up and we used the same devices instead for the kayakers who were going out on the boats, and we were able to track them, and we were able to tell when the kayaks turned upside down and things like this. So all these apps are experiments. But there's government grants there at the minute that we're applying for to pay for most of this, and they're all on for it. Everybody's on for it. It's just getting them moving to do it, you know. So we have till Christmas to get this island dotted with sensors, and then January, February, turn the lights on is the way we frame it. And we want to present then with the meetings we've set up and show, look, this is an ecological reserve. We can tell you everything about it. We can tell you about forest fires. We can tell you all this stuff. We can give you your emergency notifications. We can tell you about the earthquakes. We're not one sensor every 50 miles. We have we have a batch of sensors every 5 kilometers or 10
we have
kilometers.
a network. We have a network of them.
But this is far more, you know what I mean, man. As soon as this place is visualized in heat maps and graphs and numbers, it'll mean something to the right people. And that's
man, I want to continue this conversation. I've got to drive for 4 hours after we close out this call, and this call has gone on for 2.5 hours at this point. I've got to drive to Austin tonight, and so I've got about a 4-hour drive ahead of me, and so I'm gonna have
to meeting shortly, but then I'm free for the night. If you want to hook it up, I can ring you while you're on the road, or we can talk when you get back.
Yeah, I'd love to touch base on this, man. And I know these calls sometimes go off the rails. I appreciate everyone who has kept up throughout this whole call. But I know
DataCake for this, so I don't think it actually deviated from DataCake, Lucas. I know it sounds like it, but I'm just saying this is what I'm going to use DataCake for now. This is my test space with your platform. I think it solves for this. So this is very useful call to me. Very good happy hour. Thank you. 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Lucas, thank you so much, man. Thank you for for joining us here on the call. I know this went very, very, very long here, but I kind of like it when things run off the rails a little bit. And that's what really it helps me know who is building on this network and what they're building, and what they're using. So so thank you all.
Thanks for having us again.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to switch over to Discord if anyone wants to talk for a few minutes.
I'll
Totally.
sign off for today. It's 1:30 in the morning here, so and I have 2 kids, so
Hey, it's been a pleasure. And what I'll do, man, I'll cut out the video for this and pass it by you first, and we'll cut all the end stuff where we're just kind of bullshitting, off the end. But just kind of have the data cake stuff cut out, and I'll shoot that over to you. So we'll get that put up. But thank you very much for being a part of this today.
great. Thanks again for having us, and thanks for organizing all this. It's been a pleasure. It's been great.
Excellent. Y'all have a great one. All right. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, you too. Bye.